sell a style of play to Harden. And I don't know if Nurse is ready to present that publicly yet, but at some point he's hoping to get that chance to pitch it to Harden himself.
That is key here for Wendy, specifically when you talk about fit and Nick Nurse and what we've seen in the past. What do you make of this fit, Alan?
Well, first of all, I really admire how Nick Nurse handled the press conference, because the one thing that he did handle head on is the second round hump that this franchise has struggled with, that Kevin, you certainly know well. And he didn't try to avoid it or talk around it or give any type of platitudes. He said it. We're all going to be judged on that and that alone. And so he knows we've got to figure it out. We've got to get there. That's job one in reality. It's not James Harden. If James Harden walks, they'll move on. There's other options. There's Fred VanVleet. There's other ways they can go. Tyrese Maxey could emerge more as a ball handler, as part of the offense, and they can try to put more responsibilities on him.
Nick, welcome to Philadelphia. And it's only May and June, let me tell you, because it's not Toronto when you face questions like that, as we are just getting started on his Sixers tenure. Again, Wendy, this is the big question. As you saw Nick kind of lay out a little groundwork, what's the latest you're hearing about whether or not James Harden will be back in Philly?
Well, it's just so much up in the air, Kevin. Joel Embiid was a significant part of this process. Nick Nurse communicated with Joel Embiid before accepting this position, and I think that's a key. The organization is set up around Joel Embiid, and there's not as much clarity with James Harden. Not so much just on what his contract status is going to be, but what the design of Nick Nurse's offense is going to be. I mean, one of the things we heard from James Harden during the playoffs was how much he enjoyed getting back when Joel Embiid was recovering from the knee injury, how much he enjoyed getting back the way he played in Houston. And he's
hard to win a title. Fact or fiction?
That is a fact. In fact, I will elaborate on what I just said. He just needs a point guard of consequence. I'm not saying you can just go grab anybody, but Joel Embiid is one of those guys that shifts defenses enough that if you get him a point guard of consequence, they should be able to figure it out. Of course, with the growth of Tyrese Maxey, and perhaps if a different shift at that point guard position, maybe you see more of Tobias Harris as a offensive weapon.
Alan, the next Philly champ will not be the Eagles or Sixers. Fact or fiction?
Man, that is fiction. First of all, let's look at the other two teams we're talking about here. The Phillies got there last year, weren't able to get over the top, and you wonder, again, that division is very difficult. Can they do it? The Flyers suck. Let's just put it out there, okay? They're nowhere near contending for a Stanley Cup. So the Eagles are your closest champion, and they have a very good chance, of course, to win one.
And a big reason why is who's playing quarterback. D. Wood, Bam Adebayo is going to give you 26 and 13. You're feeling really good. But then if you tell him you're going to the free throw line and 2 free throw attempts, did that stand out on how this game was called, or just the Nuggets had a pretty clean game?
Yeah, I would go pretty clean game. This didn't look like a game where you're going, wow, they're letting a lot go. Wow, this is a real physical game. They're just not calling anything. It was more or less that the Heat were staying on the perimeter, that most of their open shots were on the perimeter, and a lot of times they have lived off of that. James Harden, he sort of just left it up to him.
Okay, he's leaving a team where he had a fantastic guard there. And is this a potential thing to keep an eye on the future of Fred VanVleet down the road? And when we talk about the fit, Monica, the wheels are turning here when you look about this potential here in Philadelphia.
The whole, not just the NBA, but like life is based on relationships, right? And so, yes, Nick Nurse and Fred VanVleet have been successful together. That is one way to help implement your system. You have a guy that has done it and been in it and can help smooth that transition over. I think, to me, Joel Embiid is the centerpiece, and that's no secret. And so, while I actually like what James Harden and Joel Embiid were able to accomplish this year, the point guard, as long as it is someone of consequence that can move defenses, that can shoot the three, that can play in the pick and roll, and can find Joel Embiid, is interchangeable in my mind. And so I actually like the idea of Fred VanVleet a lot. I also think that a new voice is just going to matter in this one. I'm curious about Nick Nurse as a motivator and a pusher, because that seems not to be the thing that jived well with Harden.
Well, spacing is going to be the key with anybody that was Joel Embiid. And we saw James Harden change his entire basketball approach this past season, and it turned into Embiid being the MVP. All right, let's stay with the
look. Yes, the contest comes late, but it's an open look. And this is what they've lived on. They have thrived on. See, relocate. That's a great shooter. That's Duncan Robinson, I believe, and he just knocks that one a little to the left. Max Strus, by the way, we all had to feel for him. Man, you go 0 for 10, you 0 for 9 from 3. That's just a rough night. These are clean looks. They were 5 for 16 on what's considered wide open shots. No defender within 6 feet or more in this game. In the Celtics series, they shot 48% on those shots. So was this just a one-game thing, or is this something to watch now in this series?
One-game thing or something to watch? Because one of the things that stood out is we didn't see the Heat attack. They were not attacking in the inside.
Can two things be true? Yes, two things can be true. I'm not asking you that. I think two things are true. I think that this was a one-game occurrence, but I also think the free throw thing is not going to be forced the way that we are accustomed to seeing the Heat do it, right? Like when you look at the way Jimmy Butler plays, he's able to find like the idea that
Here's Jimmy Butler right now. Specifically, 14 shots, just 13 points.
All perimeter.
Perimeter.
That's the problem.
Was that stunning?
Well, it's again, I just don't think Jimmy Butler's the kind of player that forces anything. So if it's not there, he's not going to force it. He might have to. He might have to because that's how they're playing him. They are fine with Bam. Go ahead. Let him. Somebody's got to score, right? A lot of times with defenses, you're not going to shut out a team. So you're going to we'll give that up. What you don't want.
He helped Joel Embiid get that MVP.